All right, old business, life safety items, capital improvement.
Mary Ann, can you put up go to the other slide first, the second picture? Okay, so we briefly discussed, you don't have this on your computer, I added these late. I talked about it in the facilities council plan and the the discussion at the facilities council was with the setback, the 25-foot setback or 24-foot setback, whatever that is, leaving there'll be a windscreen on the tennis courts here, but also utilizing this additional green space for a staging area in the event of a tournament or an event of a track meet to get to these events, and so we're so landlocked. And so what we had talked about doing is putting in a tree somewhere at the corner of this property, and then running like a row of 3-foot boxwoods to serve as like a temporary barrier, so that it clearly boxes off the school district's property line, but allows still some separation of this green space so that we can still utilize it for staging, or as I said, when we're having a tennis tournament, teams waiting to participate, or parents come and watch their student athletes participate on these two courts and possibly set up their lawn chairs or something to watch those matches. So the landscape plan that was discussed was running hedges or boxwoods, like I said, all the way across along the sidewalk, right next to the sidewalk, and then putting a tree up here. If we can fit a second tree here, we will. Otherwise, we're talking to the village to see if there's another tree or two that we can put in, like a tree sharing program that can go in the
Parkway.
The parkway. The other thing that came up, Mary Ann, if you can go to the other picture. West Smithing, Board Member Smithing was asking about the possibility of any alternative energy sources for the project or to the project. One of the things that came up was, is there any use in doing solar panels? Some of the parking lots, there's a couple school parking lots, one in Oak Park, I think it's one of their shopping malls or malls. They have where they have cars parked under, like it looks almost like a carport, and the tops are solar panels that help with the lighting and the areas to supply energy, alternative energy, solar energy to the parking lot. So we discussed this briefly. Our architect and electrical engineer looked into it, and at this point in time, the cost to install them and the payback does not warrant the investment. But we also asked to do a quote for RFPs on just what would the installation, or at least piping some of the conduit, what would that cost? So if something like this, if an alternative energy source or any grants became available, or significant tax refunds for, well, school districts don't pay taxes, but any kind of incentives became available, we wouldn't have to tear up the current project to try to go after these. The second thing that we talked about at the meeting was even an electric car charging station, and at least roughing in some of the conduit and electric for the charging station, so that, again, in a few years from now, if we need to put in a charging station for an electric car, could we have some of the infrastructure already in place so we're not tearing up the current project? And right now, we're going to be starting to stone base and asphalt these projects within the next 2 weeks. So I had the architect request some RFI, request for information, and request for pricing. And we met today in our normal construction meeting that the administration has with the construction manager and with the architect and the school administrator. So, tough picture to see, but there's 2 lines on here. Mary Ann, I don't know if you can blow this up. This is 100, maybe go to 110 down here, or if it's a little bigger. All right, now scroll up a little bit. Red line would be the potential charging station for an electric car. The red line would flow here, and we can tap into the power source into the current stadium building. what I'm asking for a request for pricing on from the contractor is this is all underdeveloped, as Mary Ann moves it away from me. This is all underdeveloped right now. This is all excavated out and getting ready to be stoned and asphalt. So I'm requesting for pricing to put an empty conduit from this point to the sidewalk to this point. At least, so if we, in a few years, if we need to put in a charging station, all we have to do is tear up the little piece of sidewalk and bore the electrical panel in the stadium building. I don't think at this point in time it's cost efficient to do that last part of the project, but at least we can lay the conduit. So I'm expecting that should be anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 roughly for the people to run the conduit now in the unexcavated area. So that's one positive thing. The blue line, which would be for the solar panels, unfortunately the blue line, now is where I need to shrink it back down for a minute, Mary Ann. Keep going. The blue line has to go to the original power source. Our power source for this entire side of our property is on the transformer on Gulf Road directly behind our visitor bleachers. And in order to do alternative energy through solar panels, the empty conduit would need to go from here, which is not a big deal, and here is not a big deal. But once you start getting to here, you'd have to directional bore under all our existing asphalt. Green space, where we start getting problems is under all our existing new track, new turf. Remember, this is all filled in, all the underground utilities underneath here. Under the underground utilities and storm traps here to get to the transformer. And so that project, I told them at this point in time, I don't think we want to pursue that because I don't think we want to even mess with that track and that turf and all the utilities and everything. And it's underneath there. I don't know if we even want to start directional boring or even consider that. And nor do we want to hold up the current project.
If we were really going to do it, and this village would go along with us, it'd be a lot cheaper and easier to run in the parkway, around the other way,
Right.
than go through our facilities. So it makes more sense to wait, see if it becomes economic, and then
Go off,
see if people, just
go off of something this way.
yeah,
into
go
Rockefeller.
up this parkway and down the parkway, and you not have to mess around with all your facilities.
So, listen, one board member, and obviously we have to have a majority of the board.
Right.
But Wes came up with some good ideas. Mr.
Right.
Smith came up with some good ideas, so I looked into them just to give you some as part of my report out. To me, a $2,000 to $5,000 change order to run the empty conduit to be prepared for electrical charges makes sense. And it was a good catch by Mr. Smithy. But once I started to dig into with the architect and engineer about this directional boring and going under our track, and then if there's any issues, if we had to tear up the track or turf and violate the warranties, and pay extra to get extra
Right, yeah, you
money.
don't know by looking at it,
It's
where the transformer is.
it's not probably a good idea. But I wanted to report out on that to the whole board before we went any further. Does anybody have any issues though with at least running the conduit now for the car charging station for the future? Any general concerns?
Just as, well, I wouldn't want to give a blanket approval, but just to get the RFP at this point.
At this point, it's the RFP. If it came back more than $5,000, then I would bring it back to the board and say, hey, this is a significant cost for something that we're not sure we're going to end up doing.
I thought we already authorized you to approve up to $10,000 on an extra, on each individual extra.
And
I thought we approved you years ago when this first came up that you could, as long as you bring it to our attention, you could approve up to $10,000, right?
this was something that was not in the project. That's like an
Okay.
unforeseen, not an unforeseen condition, or this is kind of like an add-on.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make sure. Let me get the RFP on it. I talked briefly today with the board president that if this became something more expensive than what we were planning, we could always look to, again, possibly put a charging station here and run it under the grass into the auto building and tap off the electric there. So, but I think now that this is all excavated and it's open, and it might be easier to just get this done
But
here.
you need authorization to approve a certain amount because it has to be done before the next board meeting if you're going to do it.
Correct. So if it's under, is there a set amount that the board would have an issue with? If it's under 5,000, are we okay with that? If it's under 10,000, or do you not support it? I need 4 to support it in order to do it, or we can hold off on it.
What are you comfortable with? What do you want?
Yeah, Gary, you're always the keeper of the coins. I mean, can we do? What are you comfortable with?
Well, I think it'd be nice to have an electric charging station there to demonstrate to people. You know, in the interim, you know, let's have it built out at a reasonable price. So, at what stage are you guys getting uncomfortable? What kind of dollar amount?
It shouldn't cost more than 10 grand.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be
Okay.
anything
Stay under 10, for sure.
Otherwise, I'll do it for you. And it'd be a lot cheaper than
You'll
that.
see us out there, me and Tim out there
I mean,
laying
'cause
the pipe.
how deep does this have to go down, you think?
Well, they'll go,
Well, right now,
Two feet or
what they're
something?
not finished, they're not installing the car charger. Let's make that very clear.
Sure.
There, it's just a
There'll
conduit.
be a
It's just
cap
pipe.
here.
So there's not gonna be anything there.
Right, there'll be a cap and an empty conduit running to the sidewalk here and a cap there. So in a few years from now, we believe, hey, we got people requesting it, or we think there's incentives to put that.
We have
Then all we do is
flexibility.
build out from here, and directional boards and building and tap into that power source. But at least we're not tearing up any concrete, asphalt, tennis courts, or anything, curbing. That's important.
It's easy to put the pipe in now. You got nothing there. You're just
Right.
laying the pipe
Right.
down. You got guys doing it.
and we're still within we're still within the budget. We still have.
Yes. We'll roughly have about 100,000 of contingency.
Contingency.
For that phase 3. So if we use 10 to do this, it's an add-on, which is not really a change order, right?
Right.
You know, what the board kind of gave me permission for, if it makes sense to add 3 extra light bulbs to be
Right.
within a secure, you know, but this is,
All right, I think we're comfortable somewhere in that under 10 range.
Yeah.
Under 10?
Yeah. Put the
Yeah.
conduit there. All right.
Is there what about the gate? Do we have to, are you going to put the gate in? On the south?
that would be something like, that's a change. Of-
Yeah, you're going to handle
Right.
that part, right?
Correct. By
Okay.
go back to the other picture, Marion. So just to have a gate here that we could have access to unlock if we wanted to, if we're using that for a stage.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
And now I'm just going to put in a normal 6-foot gate or 4-foot
Okay.
gate, enough to get a mower through.
So
Right.
to understand that, is that going to be fenced in at all? It's not fenced in, right?
This is all 10-foot fence.
Right, that 10-foot fence there,
This is 6-foot fence,
right?
box
For,
and so
yeah, for
on.
that area there.
So what we were going to do is put a tree. If not a tree, we'll put the hedges, the boxwoods or the hedges here, and then this way. So it would serve as almost like a fence, but it's a decorative barrier.
We were going to put windscreen on all the fence so it all matches, kind of flows.
Just on the
piece-
tennis court.
This is on the tennis court here, and then we talked about getting the pricing for this, but there was some concern about security issues if this was windscreen off, people hiding behind it.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, if you have boxwoods that eventually grow 6
No,
foot.
no, no.
No, the 3 feet.
You're going to get,
Yeah.
you're going to keep them 3 foot.
3 to 4 foot, like a 3 to 4.
Yeah,
All right, so you're not gonna
arborvitae's
have
are
any- yeah.
typically
I'm not going to
the
lie to you.
shrubs that
I'm going to
are.
go to, we have restoration
Right,
built into the plan.
Right.
And we'd have to talk with the village as well. But the idea was, it would look more welcoming to use a form of landscaping than to just put a resident, even though we're required to have a setback, would put a 4-foot fence up here. But we wanted to make it more decorative, but also provide us some security
right.
in property lines so that it doesn't become a place for airing out your dog, and we can still use it for school stuff.
Well, and if we find that it's being abused, we can always put a small fence behind the bushes.
That's true.
So if people are using it as a dog park or cutting through the bushes and not respecting the school's property, then we'd have to move to that.
Correct.
We wanted to keep it low enough so kids weren't back there.
Doing
You know,
illegal
being bad.
activities, and there was some concerns from parents, and look, you know, if we want to make sure it's not a place where somebody, an offender could be hiding and harm somebody,
Right.
or, so I think this is a good win-win for now.
Right.
Yeah, and I think putting some trees in the parkway is very positive step, and, you know, we have to figure out the 50-50 plan and all that business.
Any other questions? I believe that's it for life safety capital improvements.
Okay.
I actually have one question, Kevin.
Sure.
I mean, Dr. Skrinka. In terms of the stadium, I think I mentioned this before, have the architects ever thought about applying for some type of recognition for that facility? Because I know it's unique.
I asked Carrie about that. A lot of the recognition and awards that go into what you see at the III are more for like with classrooms and 21st century learning, like with, different. But she thought once this whole facility was complete, she would see if it could be considered.
Because I bring that up because I was at Argo for they built some type of.
Performing
addition.
Arts Center.
Well, I think it was like their indoor track or something. They got some type of award.
Okay.
So
I will
just think it's
definitely ask Karen.
worthwhile when it's over that we
Okay.
at least apply.